If you want to enjoy a successful financial future, keep listening, because today our experts will reveal what you need to know. Welcome to another edition of the McEnulty Method. I'm your host, Bill Ivashlik, and I'm joined by our financial experts, Frank McEnulty and Colin Sorrell. We're here to give you the tools you need to create the future you want. Gentlemen, how are you?
Great, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good to see you again.
Now, it's good to be seen. Now, I understand that today you're going to be discussing banking basics. Now, I got to tell you, I don't know anyone who says, I love to go to the bank. So please tell us, what are the benefits of putting your money in a bank?
Well, the first one is you got to put it somewhere. And leave it under your mattress is not a good idea. Or in the bedside stand, the drawer in the kitchen.
Bad for your back, you put it in the mattress.
Yeah.
Not.
So it doesn't, even if the bank is only paying you a little bit of interest, at least you're earning some interest. And it's safe. The money's guaranteed by the federal government up to a certain amount. And so you don't have to worry about it being stolen or getting lost or any of those things. So and you need a bank account just to be a normal producing member of society these days.
Yeah. We're in a technology-driven world. You know, you need to be able to access your money at any point. But the other thing, Frank, you mentioned it, right? Grows interest, much safer at the bank. But it's a good habit to get into. When we get into deeper financial topics and, if you're going to ever do any kind of investing or saving for a car or a house or whatever, you need to get some practice managing an account, learning what the tools are in that. So it's a good starter to build habits.
Well, most employers these days, it's becoming more and more prevalent, they won't give you a paycheck. They want you have to have a bank account in order to get paid for direct deposit. And then if you want to look at your paycheck, you have to go online and to their portal and look at the check stub. So quite honestly, you have to have one just to have a job most places. And so that's number one. If you're going to get it, and if you go to apply for a job and they say, well, what's your bank account? And you go, well, I don't have one. They may look at you a little weird.
Well, I like that. But, another question that does come up a lot when we're talking about banks is, what's the difference between a bank and a credit union?
Well,
and how do you know the right bank or credit union for you?
Well, Frank, I think you mentioned this a little bit on our last episode. You mentioned, banks they're for profit. They're a business. They're trying to make money. You're a customer of the bank, whereas credit unions are owned by the members. You are technically an owner of the credit union. And so there's some differences that come with that. My experience has been with the credit union. Usually you get maybe a little better interest rate, maybe not so high of fees if you ever get into credit cards or any of that. But I will say to the bank's credit, a lot of times there can be more ATMs, more product options for you when it comes to investing. Frank, I don't know if you want to expand on that.
No, it is sometimes. So my main account is at a credit union because I just like credit unions better. The fees, even on bank accounts, that's where banks get you. Yeah, they may open a bank account for you to start with and say, oh, well, we won't charge you anything. But before you know it, all of a sudden they're charging you $15 a month just to have an account with them. And it doesn't sound like much, but it's $15 over the course of a year. It's $180. It's your money. It's real money. Why give it to them?
No.
Whereas a credit union doesn't have those fees. Like Colin said, if you want to get a car loan, they're usually a little more flexible, have better interest rates. They're there for you versus you being there for them when you're in a bank. And yes, the ATM is sometimes a little sticky, but if you're in a credit union, there's usually another credit union somewhere nearby, and they all recognize this as an issue. So they're in a giant network, so you can use most of the ATMs in the country for free. So I'm a big fan of credit unions, especially for people starting out. Yes, if it's a business, credit unions don't do business accounts. They do personal accounts. So if you get big enough, you go to a bank. Colin said they provide different services. Credit unions, home loans, car loans, boat loans. Don't ever get one. They knew I was going to say that. It's a personal bank, and that's why we always talk about banking, which sort of puts credit union sounds. Well, they're not a bank. Yes, they are a bank. They're really good banks for people.
Yeah. Well, and I'll give an example. I was 18 years old. I got my first credit card from Navy Federal, probably one of the most well-known credit unions. And I think, and this is going to make people's jaw drop anyway, I think my interest rate was 18%, which, sounds incredibly high until I had roommates and friends who dealt with your regular banks and were getting 25, 30% interest rates. So the credit unions are, in my opinion, more there for their members. Now, we should throw out there, credit unions, a lot of times there's certain requirements you have to meet to be a member, although they're getting a lot more loose with that. So I know Navy Federal, right, you had to be a military member. But then if my dad was in the military, I could become a member. So, go out there, see what credit unions are available, see what you need to do to be a member. And a lot of times you find a family member or somebody, and once you're in, you're in. So.
Well, you're right. They used to be a lot tighter to get into, but now it's like Long Beach, LBS Credit Union, Long Beach Schools Credit Union. You go to a school in Long Beach or surrounding communities, you can be a member.
There you go.
You got Schools First Credit Union. You go to a school, you work at a school, you've waved at a school, it seems like you can be a member. It's much easier. My first car loan was also through a credit union. I think it was LA County Credit Union. My mom worked for the county at the time, and I wanted to buy a car. Yeah. I joined because she was a member. She worked there, so I got an account. They gave me a loan on my first car. I don't remember what the interest rate was. It didn't matter. They gave me a loan, and no one else would deal with me.
Big
There you
fans
go.
of credit unions.
Yes.
So, not that banks are bad, but
you know what? I didn't say they were, and you guys didn't either. But yeah, we do have a question that a listener sent in. This comes from Moses, and he's shared a little with us. He goes, it sounds stupid, and I've asked family and friends about the basics of opening a bank account, but I'd still like some things cleared up. Can I just walk into a bank and ask for an account? What's the process like?
Basically, yes. For a personal account, you can basically walk in and ask for an account. Now you're going to have your social security number.
a little proof of ID.
You're going to have a proof of identification, right? Driver's license.
Gotta have an address.
Mm-hmm. Is it a little more of a process now than it used to be? It used to be you walk in with $10, you say, I want an account. They say, sure, here's an account. But now with all the anti-money laundering things and all that, there's a little more paperwork and that, but it's very simple. I know, for example, Long Beach Schools Credit Union, I'm pretty sure Schools First Credit Union, you go online.
Yeah. A lot of it is online.
You just fill out the information, and because they're gonna check you, they're gonna put what you give them into their databases and say, okay, yes, the driver's license did come back to this person, the address did come back as the same one on the driver's license, the social security number does match to that person. So, and the other thing, very little amount money to open it.
$5, $10,
$20 to open an account. So that's another thing. It's very simple, and I know eventually we're going to get into talking about credit cards, debit cards, and all that. That's possibly the best way to start developing credit, start developing a credit score is once you open an account with the credit union, and then get their credit card and start using it, and it'll all be attached in just much easier.
Yeah, and then above all, don't be nervous to do it. These banks and credit unions, they want you to have an account because that's good for their business. They depend on members like you to have accounts with them and save your money there. So, you go in, or even online these days, you don't even have to talk to a person. I know that's such a chore these days, but you don't even have to do it. You go online, to Frank's point, you put in driver's license, address, probably social security, and even 24 hours you'll have your savings and checking account.
Now, the one question I don't know, and I need to find out, is if you're under the age of 18, do you need a parent to sign on the account for you? I would think so.
Usually.
But there's always ways to figure that out.
Yeah, it does seem like it would make sense. And let's face it, if you're 16 or 17 and want to open an account, I'm sure your parents would be thrilled. So it shouldn't be a problem.
No, it shouldn't.
Well, guys, this is actually pretty interesting stuff. I didn't think that banks could interest me this much, but there you go. On our next episode, I know you're going to give us the inside information on savings accounts versus checking accounts. And do we really need both? How does each one help us? And or how does each one potentially cause us trouble? I can't wait to hear your answers about that. And for you listening, you don't want to miss this. You're going to find out stuff that will save you time, save you money, and make your life easier. Thanks for listening. If you want to learn more, you can check out other episodes at our YouTube channel at The McEnulty Method, or wherever you're listening to this podcast.